The United States of America, land of the brave, home of the free, Las Vegas, Nevada, the gaming, the showgirls, the Guinness. Ryan Stokes, what the heck's going on here?
An Irishman in the desert, Groovy. I've been here for 6 years now and I'm still not used to the heat. But here, let's get this leather show on the road.
God almighty, the leather challenge has been accepted.
Let me start off by saying thanks very much for inviting me to be a part of this Groovy G's replica re-leather challenge. I appreciate it.
Oh, Ryan, the pleasure is all mine. Now, let's start right at the beginning. How did an Irishman living in the desert get into re-leathering wrestling belts?
I've always been a fan of belts, championship belts, ever since I seen them on the TV and watching. I had a sneaky suspicion that the straps that we were getting on the replicas weren't actually the straps that they had on TV. So I started doing a little bit of research here and there, and I quickly came to figure out that the straps were actually on real leather. So my first venture was I was in New York City, and I went to the local leather store and picked up the completely wrong leather, took it home, and cut it out and put my belts on that leather. I was pretty happy with it, but then I actually joined some of the Facebook groups and started seeing other people doing the leather work, and then I knew I was doing it completely wrong. So with a little bit more research and of course the help of a few others, I started buying the proper leather, got the proper tools, and started to go to town on re-leather. And I only did dome globes at the start. I did that for about a year. I was afraid of doing tooled belts, so I only did dome globes for about a year. And it was actually a customer I did a dome globe for him, which is double loop lacing. And he told me, I'm going to send you a belt to tool. And I told him I don't do tooled work. And he said, it doesn't matter. I trust you. And I told him, don't send it to me. And he said, I already have your address from the other belt, so here you go. Let's do it. And it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because ever since he sent that belt and I tooled that belt up, I just fell in love with tooling. So basically, just seeing them on TV and having a passion for using my hands to work with, really did fall in love with real leather.
And you were known for quite some time as the lace leather guy. Now, a lot of leather crafters start out with the tooling, then get into the lace leathering because it seems to be a little bit more difficult. But it seems that you've done things around the other way.
The double loop lacing for me came very easy. Some people say that it's very difficult. I have no clue, no idea why, but the double loop lacing was just very easy for me. I watched one video online of how to do it, and I was off to the races. It just came very naturally to me. Tooling is definitely, for me, it's a lot more work. There's a lot more to tooling. There's you're drawing out your snap boxes, getting everything right, everything's symmetrical. For me, I need everything to be symmetrical. I do still enjoy lacing, but now I really like to see my progression with my tooling from where I started 5 years ago to where I am now with my tooling. I'm very happy with where I'm at. And actually just recently, like we see here on the Groovy G, I just started stitching about a year ago. And that was another thing, like the tooling, I was afraid to do it. I didn't think I could do it, and the stitching, I would say, is probably the easiest thing of them all.
Now, with the stitching and with the tooling and the lace leather straps, is there a difference in how you approach the re-leather? I guess what I'm asking is, what are the most difficult parts, or what are the differences?
The laced leather, basically you want your holes, your punches to be straight. When you look down the length of the strap, you want your holes, your punched holes, to be really straight. If your holes aren't straight, you're going to see the waves. It's not going to look clean. So that's probably the most difficult part of a laced belt. Basically a laced belt is completely flat. There's usually never any tooling on it, so it's just the lace that makes that belt pop. For the tooling, the most difficult part of tooling is something something that's on every single belt. It's the beveled line. Those bevel lines need to be clean, need to be smooth. You have to get it the perfect depth the whole way around that belt, or else you can see once that die goes on, you can see clearly that if your beveling isn't up to scratch, you're gonna have choppy lines. You're gonna have parts of the line that's deeper than others, and it just doesn't look appealing. It doesn't look nice, and that's where you can see an experienced leather crafter to somebody else is definitely in those bevel lines, especially the straight bevel lines.
Now, you mentioned you're a wrestling fan. Have you got any memories of the original Crumb Run Big Gold Belt?
You know, it's sad to say that I don't have any. I started watching wrestling in 2000. We couldn't really get anything else other than the WWF in Ireland. So growing up in Ireland, for me, I couldn't find it. I don't know if anybody else had it, but I could only find the WWF. So I only watched that until later on. When I grew up a little bit older, I started venturing and finding other things. But the first time that I seen a big gold was on WWE when Eric Bischoff brought that version to the ring.
And that's the particular version this Groovy G replica is based off. Now, you've re-leathered a few replicas in your past. How does the Groovy G replica Big Gold stack up against the others?
For a big gold, this is absolutely amazing. I've worked with so many big gold plates over the years, and I have to say this is very well done. Price point is perfect for a replica, and people have been asking for this kind of replica for a while. So great job on getting that replica out there.
So what style of strap have you decided to go with?
I'm going to replicate the original Crumb. The reason I'm doing this is because I love the original color of the strap. It's very difficult to achieve, but once you get it right, I think it complements the plates tremendously.
But although it is a simple strap because the plates are the main show, there is a question about the stitching. How are you getting the stitching? Are you doing it by hand? Are you using a machine? How are you getting those stitches in?
Yeah, my stitching is all done by hand. I just think it looks a lot cleaner. You can definitely tell when something has been hand stitched compared to something that has been machine stitched.
Because it's just a simple burgundy colour, is there any special way that you put the leather dye on?
So I'm going to just do a shout out right now to somebody that's actually in the Groovy G challenge also, Colin Cook. He was the one that gave me the base coat, the base colors, if we will, to get the achieved color of the original Crumb. And then from there, I kind of messed with those colors a little bit more, gave different ratios, and tried other things for myself, which I'm pretty happy with. Coat-wise, it honestly depends on the leather. All different leather, even leather from the same hide, takes dyes differently. So it really just depends on that. You're going to put your base coat on, then you're going to buff. I'm going to do another coat, then buff, and then just go from there until you get your desired finish. The best technique for colors like that is going to be spraying them on with an air sprayer. It's the only way that you can achieve that. Otherwise, your strap's going to be blotchy when you're putting dye on. Any colored dye with a rag or with a sponge, when you dip that sponge into the dye and the first sponge line on the leather, that's going to be a heavy spot. So the best way and the best technique is to spray that dye on the belt.
And you've decided to go for a backing on this particular strap?
This one I've done has got the backing. It also has the backing cover and the screws. I know the original had the screws exposed, but for me personally, I like a backing. I like the screws, the bolts being covered. I've done 2 belts, I think, that had a natural back on them, and it was okay. The customer wanted the belt completely ring accurate. It was nice, but like I say, I'd rather there be a backing on there. To me, it just looks more professional.
Now, because this is a replica, all of the bolts are in the same spot. Will you be offering a send-out strap for the Groovy G replica belt's Big Gold replica?
I've never done send-out straps. I've never offered them. Reason that I never did it was because the holes, sometimes they shift when you're working with the leather. So unless I have the plates on hand, I'm not going to know if my holes the holes that I've punched have shifted or not. So sometimes a customer will get the strap and the holes are in the wrong spot, or it needs to be modified, and that's just something I don't want to deal with. I've never offered to send out straps, and I've been doing pretty okay not offering them.
So we can safely assume you are a fan of leather backing on a strap. Now, how much is the strap from Ryan Stokes Leather going to set us back?
So my tooled work is $350 plus ship, and I plus ship on it and everything because we don't know where the belts are going. I ship worldwide, so I keep my price point $350 for tooled work plus shipping. If there's any custom work on it, custom designs, things like that, the price can change. And like you said, yeah, with stitched work and lace, also Velcro belts are the same price for me. I charge $380 for that work because it is a little bit more time consuming than just doing a tooled belt.
So we've seen your leather, we've heard your prices. If someone's interested in getting a strap from you, how do they go about getting in touch with Ryan Stokes?
So if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I do most of my work on Facebook. It's Ryan Stokes Leather and Belts on Facebook. I have an Instagram, that's Stokes Leather and Belts on Instagram. Also, if anyone wants to get a hold of me via email who doesn't have any social medias, that's completely fine. Email address is ryanstokes110@gmail.com.
So thank you very much, Ryan Stokes from Ryan Stokes Leather, for being on the Groovy G Replica Belts Big Gold Leather Challenge. Now, as you heard from the interview, these leather guys are pretty tight, so this isn't a competition, but that doesn't mean there won't be a winner, and that winner could be you. Simply like and subscribe to any episode of the Groovy G Replica Belts Big Gold Leather Challenge, and you could win your very own fully re-leathered Groovy G Replica Belts Big Gold Replica. We'll be back with another episode very, very soon. Until then, take care. It's bye for now.